What's up, comrades? Nightwolf here, and welcome to another video. Today is a very interesting day. For a while now, for quite some time, I had a feeling, like in the back of my mind, that, the SJWs, the feminists and whatnot would target anime next. I've been thinking this in the back of my mind. I didn't want to say or do anything because not a lot has happened, because, well, the one thing that I think a lot of us kind of know who are in the anime community has been pretty niche for quite some time. I mean, anime is moving towards being very, mainstream nowadays. I'm not gonna deny that. We're reaching that boiling point. And we're gonna get into the article from the website One Angry Gamer, who kind of discusses some of this, and then maybe next week I will cover the other articles that, are telling us how we can better prepare for this inevitability. And I think the main focus for this is to try and get ahead of it before it happens, and I'm all for that. I don't want anime to become the breeding ground for the same stuff that comic books, video games, and movies have had to contend with. And I think that, considering that the anime community is pretty diverse, a lot of girls, a lot of guys, a lot of people of varying colors, shapes, sizes, all that particular stuff, I think we could probably band together and nip this in the bud before it gets out of hand. I certainly hope that is the case. Also, before we get into it, I'm pretty sure some of you guys are hearing rattling and whatnot in the background. It's storming out here, so if you hear windows rattling or wind, I apologize. I'm literally in a wind tunnel right now. It's not overtly fun. I'm concerned that the power will go out eventually, though I don't think it has yet. It may have done it earlier this morning. But we're going to get into the article, and we're going to discuss things. So I will leave links to the article, obviously, so you can read it yourself. And it says, anime fan warns community of potential Animegate as anime goes mainstream. So let's kind of get into this. It says, some anime fans have been contacting us for a while with hints and tips about certain forms of censorship, localization changes, and politically licking creeping into the anime market. Yeah, this type of stuff has been happening, localizing changes and, censorship. That's been happening with Japanese video games. That happens with some of the animes and whatnot that we get down the road. I can attest that this is a thing that does happen. Of course, I know that the Japanese themselves are also partially responsible for said censorship, because we need to be fair and honest. People, particularly in the West, especially in America and whatnot, can be very overtly sensitive to certain topics and discussions, and they get really butthurt about certain things. This is kind of just a thing that happens, so we need to keep that in mind. That's probably why they censor this type of stuff. I mean, they've been doing it with video games for years. A lot of people in Japan thought, people who play video games in the States or in the West are idiots and aren't capable of handling very hard, difficult games. Let's be honest. So they have their own preconceived notions of people in the States or people of the Western world. So there's that to consider too, but there has been a lot of overt censorship that is unnecessary. And we might get into that at some point. The increasing occurrence of certain trends within the market has sparked discussion within the anime fandom communities, and one fan in particular put together a lengthy 5-part series of articles highlighting what he feels is the potential making of an Animegate if things continue in their current direction. The author, Gabriel, I'm gonna butcher this, Presincio Forrest, published the first part of the series back in March 12th, 2018, over a Sakura Anime News. It's titled Anime Mainstream Struggle, and it covers the different aspects of the changing industry and how it's been affecting the West due to going mainstream. It also covers some of the effects bleeding into the Japanese market as well. The article points to Anime Feminist, a website that I thought was completely a joke. I don't even know very many people have even visited that site. Geek.com, Mel Magazine, Vice, and comicbook.com. I'll have to look into all these different websites and see if I can find some stuff that's of big concern for the anime community. All publishing articles within a short span of time at the start of March, criticizing the anime community for gatekeeping. Yeah, we'll have to go over these articles, obviously. After Kim Kardashian announced that she was a fan of Japanese animated shows and movies, Gabriel believed it a precursor of things to come, similar to what eventually transpired with Gamergate, where the media collectively colluded to push the narrative that gamers are dead, spawning a 4-year campaign of gamers being pitted against their own enthusiastic medium providers. Yeah, this is the type of stuff that we need to be very concerned with. They did the same thing with Comicsgate. That's a battle that's still going on. Gamergate, as much as the hashtag is dead, the movement itself I don't think has ended. And criticizing the anime community for gatekeeping. If that's what these articles go into, boy howdy, is that a dumb thing to say. I've been to 2 anime conventions, and I will safely say, as a straight white man, I feel overwhelmed by the amount of women and, other people that go to these conventions. Especially when it comes to the female demographic of anime. Holy frickin' crap. There are so many girls who love them some anime. And that's okay. That's a great thing. Anyway, that's a bunch of BS, and they know that. Or at least they should know that. Anyway, the article states, just as with Gamergate and Comicgate, you forgot the S, but that's forgivable. We can expect our very identity as fans to be attacked, and for all of us to be characterized as losers, trolls, as well as sexist and racist. Unless we decide to agree with everything the mainstream media has to say about our hobby and willfully surrender our identity and subculture without a fight. Yeah, that's what we need to kind of get on top of, guys. We don't want to give up what makes anime a fun and enjoyable hobby for us. We don't want to surrender ourselves to these people and just let them dictate what we can and can't watch, what we can and cannot enjoy. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm going to continue to watch, Mobile Suit Gundam, despite the fact that it has some Nazi imagery in it. You can go jump off a cliff. That ain't changing. The article argues that eventually these sorts of attacks will eventually reach and begin affecting the source material in Japan. Yeah, that's an interesting point. While many gamers and anime fans believe that Japanese artists and creators are impervious to what other nations and activists think about their work, the Sakura Anime Network points to Japan actually folding to activists from Mongolia who felt that the depiction of Genshi Khan in a manga was disrespectful. Oh, Genghis Khan, sorry. Was disrespectful, which resulted in a book being forced off of shelves, as reported by Sora News 24 on March 1st, 2018. I'll have to look into that particular little part. In some regards, the Japanese are impervious to this in certain aspects, I think, because I know that there was videos that came out, like, if everybody remembers when Ghost in the Shell came out, the live-action movie adaptation, a lot of people know that, certain elements and parts of the film, like the fact that it starred Scarlett Johansson and, somebody went actually into Japan and asked, like, do you care if the major is, a woman from America? Does this bother you? And a lot of them really didn't care. Because when it comes to certain forms of, type of whitewashing and whatnot, I don't think they genuinely care. But, I could be mistaken. There could be other things that we need to consider. And it also shows a video from Upabend. I like him. He's a good guy. Anyway, Gabriel also points out that this is a multifaceted attack that is organized by factions within entertainment media and even from international organizations like the United Nations, which actually did attempt to pressure Japan to censor anime and manga, as reported by Niche Gamer. It's an interesting point. The incoming attack on anime is itself part of a greater war on geek culture in general, from video games to comics to anime, and is occurring across all levels of media. Make no mistake, this is not a random result of progressive political ideology gone awry. It is calculated and international. If you notice, this movement is being pushed by journalists of the entertainment mainstream media, of a regular establishment news media, by actors and actresses, by professional feminists, by professional activists, by political pressured groups, by figures of authority and influence. The average Joe has no say in this movement one way or another, and the ones spearheading this movement have the support of the United States government and Japanese in this case, and the United Nations, who are supporting and vindicating their efforts. And we can't let that happen. Let's see. In the fourth part of the series, it points out that anime has been under a steady but subdued attack for the last decade. I don't know if I've ever seen that, but over a decade, that's quite a long time. I never really noticed, but if that's the case, oh boy, we're in for a haul. But initiatives are slowly starting to ramp up to monopolize the target market. Yeah, that part I do agree with. It's like, it may have been in small doses, but it could be ramping up very, very soon, and we need to get ahead of that. We have seen cases when Funimation took liberties with the localization of My First Girlfriend, which included Trump jokes and taking shots at light novel fans for calling them misogynistic creeps in the dub version. Yeah. I remember when Funimation was doing some of these, kind of edits to it. It's really unnecessary. I don't know why they would let that pass. Essentially lambasting their own audience. When confronted over the liberties taken with localization, Funimation redirected the conversation about politicized localization to talk about harassment. That's interesting. We'll have to go over that at some point. These kinds of socially political themed liberties in the localization also found their way into other anime as well, most notably with Funimation's localization of Prison School, which took a jab at Gamergate, as reported by Niche Gamer. Let's see. Just recently, Crunchyroll's localization team took liberties with the English port of Danmachi, Memoria Freeze, enacting censorship, and then saying it wasn't censorship, just the removal of features to suit the different audiences in different regions. So what's the solution? Well, Sakura Anime News suggests foregoing attaching oneself to political factions or engaging in tribalism, and instead uniting against the media force, writing, "This is not a partisan issue. The political left is attempting censorship of sexuality and free speech, while the political right is attempting the censorship of violence and unpatriotic behavior. It is a cooperative effort on both groups, complement each other. As a fan base, we must not rely on a political faction to protect us, as they only serve their interests and agenda." This is a very true statement. "We must, in fact, take politics out of our hobbies. To do that, we must come together as a fan base and, through collective efforts, resist all attempts to destroy our communities, hobbies, and subcultures." I completely agree with this. Personal politics have no business in nerd culture. I know that in certain cases, in stories and whatnot, you can discuss certain elements of things like that, like politics, but in the culture itself, it has no bearing on this industry whatsoever. That's not how anime works. That's not how any form of nerd culture works. People just want to enjoy a medium. It's a form of entertainment, a form of enjoyment. You're supposed to just sit back, relax, and have a good time. We're gonna finish up this article real quick, so then we can give my final thoughts on it. When gamers attempted to warn their communities about the regressive left, also known as social justice warriors. Before Gamergate actually started, minigamers scoffed and said, if you ignore them, they'll go away, which obviously did not happen. Various games have been censored or are getting outright banned from release with increasing frequency these days. This is a very, very true. I did a stream with Flatmeister, I think, where we talked about one of the games that's getting a lot of issues that's coming from Japan. Sakura Anime News wanted to put together a preemptive manifesto of sorts to warn anime fans about what could be on the horizon based on the trends popping up and the localization communities and the sort of narratives currently being used by the media. Sakura Anime News hopes that, unlike what happened with gamers and the comic book industry, hopefully anime fans can step out in front of the narratives and avoid having the entire fandom usurped with caustic socio-political agitprop, which have become a prominent staple in the stories, characterizations, and narratives of video games, movies, and comic books. Yeah, I agree with this. If this type of stuff is about to happen, we need to get in front of it as quickly as we possibly can. We need to call out this stuff, show them the type of people that we are, because the anime community and anime fan base, while there are some people who are not the best of individuals and people, but in any community you're going to find some assholes. You're going to find some real jerks and whatnot. But as a whole, the anime community is a great community. And we don't want to be painted in the worst possible light possible. I think that was a very run-on sentence. I apologize. We don't want to let them dictate who we are or what we do. That's not up to them, that's up to us. So, if you're a fan of anime and whatnot, you should probably speak your mind about this. You should probably consider the potential that this could happen to the anime community like it's happened to comics, movies, and video games. Because we want to get in front of it. We want to stop it. Because we're not evil people. We're just fans. But with that said, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please as always do not forget to leave me a like, shoot me a comment, subscribe if you're new here. I'd greatly appreciate the support. And of course, as always, do not forget to raise your nerd flags high, and I will see you next time. Nightwolf is out.